Okay, well, if you want me to shut it off, let me know. Otherwise, yeah, we don't have a particular agenda, but appreciate everybody joining us. Do you guys all know Melissa?
Nope, I don't think John or Dennis have met Melissa. So Melissa's our new director of project management and operations. She kind of floats between departments and is here to help us get projects across the finish line. So she'll probably be working with us on this as well.
Great. Welcome aboard.
Yeah, welcome to the team.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, we look forward to working.
Great. Dan, do you want to chair the meeting, or do you want me to start off, or what do you prefer?
You can start off, and can you remind me, did we officially receive word from Eagle? We're still waiting, are we not?
Yeah, we are still waiting.
Okay.
The last communication was we want to get things ready to go. So do you have any budget changes? And that kind of prompted this discussion. You know, if we see any major glaring changes, not that we can't make changes or modifications or even potential expansions later, but
Yeah, I can kick off with some budget items. So I mean, we do have the 251,000, I think it's 300 in the budget. So we do have it in the budget. We just finalized our 2023 budget today. It's in there as an 80-20 split. The Eagle grant covering 80%. It's going to be critical that we find a way to bring this project in at or under budget. We've got some other priorities this year, namely staff compensation, especially in this market where with inflation, we're trying to increase compensation and we have collective bargaining ongoing. But so Frank has asked me to keep our capital outlay at $500,000, and it's at essentially 501,000 on the button right now. So we really need to keep this at or under budget as we look to 2023 in construction, which is obviously difficult in this climate.
thanks. Yeah, I know it might be a little early to determine budget changes. Obviously, it's easier to shift between line items than expanding the project. But the state has also done some contract amendments in the past, so they're not ruling it out. It's just if we do amendments, we have to meet several criteria. Probably the most important one is that we're well underway with the project. So they don't want to just expand budgets if the project hasn't even started yet. So it behooves us to kind of get going as quickly as we can, realizing that there's going to be delays with weather. And so that's one of the reasons why we'd like to get a memorandum of understanding with Spicer about your role in assisting with that, assuming you still are interested.
Yes, absolutely. Still very much interested. I understand the climate, Dan. I just floated a draft to you guys like 2 minutes before the meeting. It's considerably different than what I had originally plugged in to the grant application. So I think that we're going to have to work through that. And maybe there's some activities that can be shared by the township so that we can minimize those costs. I'm not sure. It's just we came in with a design and construction budget, at least from the application, at about 40 grand. And given the environment and some things that I had not accounted for in the application, I essentially doubled it. Not excited that I doubled it, but it's almost doubled right now. So I know that's not a good way to start, but I know it's a hard topic to get through. So I just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, I saw your email come in, but haven't had a chance to take a look at anything. I just popped the 2 PDFs open, and maybe we'll have you walk through this and go over the various costs associated with it. So big picture with the recycling center, cost wise, I mean, we do have quite a few projects going on next year. So it probably would be good if we could secure your services for the design and the engineering. We can do a lot of the RFP stuff in-house, but Niall and Madison, our senior project engineer and our project engineer, their time is going to be consumed with namely trail and pathway projects in our local road program. So we really could use help with the final design and engineering, and then we could probably do the actual RFP itself. That's just something that I was thinking going into this meeting, but John and Dennis, do you want to run us through what you've sent out and
Yeah.
what you're proposing?
Let me get this screen sharing figured out. I'm used to working in Teams, not on Zoom.
And Dan, on your other projects, if there's anything we can do to assist, don't hesitate to reach out to us.
Oh, that's not it.
Nope, it's starting to share. It hasn't loaded your screen just yet.
I just don't know if that's that's not the right screen. That's all. I'm gonna stop. Stop sharing. I'll figure it. Oh.
If you want, I could share my screen and I've got the 2 PDFs pulled up.
Yeah, maybe that's easier. I'm sorry, I'm just not used to running through this
That's fine.
format.
So which one do you want to go to first?
Let's just walk the agreement big picture. So, we gotta let this basically our letter agreement format, describing the background of when the township submitted the grant application to where we're at right now. The township looking for design and construction surveying services to complete the project. I've outlined these tasks in the various phases between preliminary design, geotechnical, final design. There's basically eight categories. And those 8 categories almost line up identically to the work plan that we provided to Eagle for the application. They're almost verbatim. I mean, what I did do is, and I hadn't accounted for, was a couple smaller tasks. I did put some geotechnical in here to do some soil borings or hand augers. We may be able to do that ourselves, but it'll probably be easier to subcontract that work. It's limited. It's a small fee compared to the rest of the numbers you're seeing in front of you. It's like probably like $2,000. So if you go to the bottom, maybe that's easier. So that geotech was not included in my original estimate when we did the application. The project reporting at the bottom, number 8, was not necessarily included in that cost either. And we may not necessarily need to do that. Just maybe most of that's just coordination to make sure whoever at the township is going to facilitate that quarterly reporting, the final report to be done it could be a split. Maybe we're just providing information so that it can be populated online and be done. That's kind of what I've outlined there. It's item number 6 and 7 that are the big heartbreakers right now. So I had like $20,000 preliminarily budgeted for construction, admin, inspection. That's just physically not enough, even though it's a small project. I've anticipated this project to be 16 weeks, and maybe it's less. And I've also anticipated part-time inspection. So I've included 15 hours a week of Spicer time for project oversight, inspection, material testing. So 15 hours for 16 weeks at 240 hours. And I'll be honest, this is a construction tech person that I have keep for this project that's local, so he doesn't have to travel real far. That was intentional. And it just happens that he's on the lower end of our pay scale spectrum, so that helps me also. So I'm not getting the most expensive inspector on the project. But maybe there's something in that 28.5 that could be partially performed. Maybe some of the inspection work until it gets to a point where checking grades, material testing, density, concrete, things of that nature have to be done by the consultant. Maybe some of that can be performed by the township. I'm not sure. I'm trying to figure out cost savings here, as we're talking, Dan and Leroy. I figured 15 hours a week was, if that's three 5-hour days or what have you, check in beginning, middle, end. And I don't think this is going to require full-time everyday inspection. And in fact, maybe 15 hours a week is too much or too little, depending on the week. I'm just hoping that it averages itself out. But the administration is all of our coordination progress meetings, pay application review, shop drawing review, approvals, coordination with the contractor, Eagle, for disbursements, things like that. It's a fairly standard process. And so what I've done to help the township understand better where these numbers are coming from is I did provide that it's 11 by 17 sheet that Dan had up initially. It kind of breaks down all the tasks and the hours. And I'm not trying to hold any punches. I'm trying to make sure everybody can see transparency. And if we can find some, I know it's really small on the screen, sorry.
Yeah.
If we can find savings in any of the tasks, as long as we all agree on what that looks like to drive this $80,000 cost down, we're open to suggestions to do that. I guess that's my initial thoughts through the process. I did spend a pretty good amount of time between yesterday and today trying to facilitate this plan. And I do have a meeting scheduled with my principal in charge to go over this project and ensure that things look realistic, or I'm not beating something too much or something less in another area. So I'm gonna do one more review with my principal in charge for that, just to ensure that what you're seeing in front of you it's likely not the final product, but it is the start point.
Okay. So just running, and I'll kind of go in reverse order. So project reporting, I think we could handle this internally. I think that's something that the township can take on, and perhaps Leroy could be like the point person for making sure that we're tracking our dates and then helping to coordinate with Melissa and myself and making sure that we're getting everything to Leroy that he needs to complete the reports. Leroy?
It's maybe obvious, but this works on a reimbursable basis. So a report to, basically we spend the money and then we get reimbursed 80% of that. So a specific report to the state may not be required for cash flow purposes. We just have to know that we're going to be spending that money before we get reimbursed. And then obviously a final report. I haven't looked at all the reporting requirements, but
I don't know
between-
when Dale's final report, but I'm assuming it's some type of project certification with some documentation.
Mhm.
It's probably limited, but the project files need to remain, we'll make we being Spicer, we'll make a banker box or something of all of our file structures, because I think you have to have that in case you get audited for one reason or another. So someone's going to have a footrest, underneath their desk for a few years somewhere.
Okay.
okay, yeah. Well, I don't think reporting will be too much of a challenge between our team here, and I can certainly help with that.
Okay, well, that's good.
Especially if Bernie's on board. She's a pleasure to work with.
Yeah, I don't see that being a problem in-house. I think we just need to make sure we have one person that's tracking our reporting deadlines and dates and stuff. So I think that would be Leroy. You'd probably be the best person because you're the most familiar with the grant itself and making sure that we know those dates. So project inspection, we're assuming here 5 days or 5 hours per day, 3 days per week for 16 weeks. And John, walk through one more time what specifically you're including within the inspections.
It'll be daily reporting, or when we're on site, we'll do the reporting so that we keep record of the contractor's activities. We'll be coordinating quantities for the pay applications.
Okay.
We'll be performing material inspection, whether that's density on aggregates or density on pavement or the concrete itself, concrete testing. We will do all that. And that's where it gets a little hairy, you know, when they start building the base up for the aggregate base and the road, you know, at those points we'll want to be on site to make sure that they're achieving appropriate depths and compaction. And then we will be on site for whatever day it takes for them to pave. It's a small paving quantity, but you know, we'll be on there to observe that and also check density on that as well. So it's easy to say we'll be out there 3 days a week, but it could have been more days a week for less time or something, just because of the nature of how the contractor is building the project. I was just trying to get a realistic value to be out there in terms of average.
Okay. So but we do have a standing contract every year for aggregate testing. And then typically our inspectors do go out and get tabs and track the quantities. So
Okay.
Tom and Mike are out in the field every day tracking quantities for the local road program and other projects in the township.
Do you do
We'll
that
have
for
to check.
do you
Go ahead.
have a standing material testing contract for concrete or also?
Concrete and asphalt, yeah.
Oh, for the whole deal.
Yeah,
So-
we have one every year in place for our parking lots and for trails and the local road program. So I'll have to check with Giannis and see what our unit cost is there, what our cost per hour is, and but I mean, we could loop it into that.
That
So-
may help free us. I don't know how I know it impacts you because I don't know how your contract works. I mean, somebody's getting paid somewhere to do the testing, no matter how it works, right?
Yeah,
So that'd be helpful in those days though, if it's spur of the moment and somebody needs something tested on that site, but it's not a day we were maybe anticipating coming out there. And that was the only thing occurring, let's say. It just ends up coming down to coordination, right? It's just figuring out who needs to do what when.
okay. And do you guys do the testing in-house or is that something that you sub out?
We do density ourselves. We'll do density ourselves, and we will make the cylinders for concrete. We can take those cylinders and be broken in our office in Saginaw, but honestly, it's cheaper to have PSI just come and bring it from their Lansing office and break it. They do it for a very cheap rate.
I don't think we test for density, but I'll have to double check with Giannis and Niall. I thought our contract just tests the aggregate when it arrives on site, so I don't think we actually do a density test, and Rob's shaking his head. Yeah, so I'll double check with them, but I mean, we would probably want the density testing, but let me check with my engineering staff and see what their thoughts are on the density testing.
I mean, I would say, Dan, if we're coming out those 15 hours a week, whenever it ends up being, if we're on site, that is part of what we'll do regardless. You know, we're checking the site, the daily activities, we're doing the density, we're doing it because we're there and we can, because all of our guys are certified to do that. It's only on those days when maybe we're not going to be there, where we weren't anticipating being there, when maybe we have your contractor or your sub pick it up if that's even possible. Otherwise, we're making another trip out to do that testing work.
Well, in big picture, what are you thinking? I forget how many square feet we're looking at for concrete and asphalt, but big picture, what are we thinking the construction budget's going to be aside from all the items that we're talking about here and all the soft costs?
Well, if you take can you say it again? Because I mean, I already have administration kind of broken out separately. So
Yeah, like I'm just wondering how much you think when we bid this and
oh,
get a contractor, how much do you think the actual construction contract is gonna be for.
You
So I'm
mean
just
if it's-
wondering,
You mean if it's gonna, is it gonna fit inside of our 272,000? Is that what you mean? For
well,
that,
yeah, 272 wasn't given to me, so we've got 251 in the budget, but
I mean, we had originally had 237, but we put a 15% contingency on construction, not knowing the environment, which added an extra 35 grand. And that's why it was at 272.
I can
think
pull up the budget if you like.
What's that?
If you want me to
Oh,
pull up the budget, I could.
yeah, go ahead. I'm just wondering how much do we have to, I'm just trying to make it fit. I put 251 in the budget.
Right, like if we get a good bidding environment, it comes in something less than, can the contingency be less if it comes in at like 240 or something like that? I get it. I mean, we don't want to cut ourselves too, we don't have to cut themselves too short in case they need that contingency for construction, but
Well, that's just the number that Leroy gave me for the total cost of the project was 251. I don't know if that was a
right
miscommunication.
there.
Okay,
I certainly think, as you're looking at this, Dan, I certainly think we're in the ballpark. I mean, I realize,
so this is an 80-20 split, but it's really 314,000 is what I should have put in the budget.
Let's see, we don't have the total amount yet. What we asked for from the state was 80% of that 314.
Okay,
right, so is the budget sheet, is at the top of this, right, Leroy?
yeah, that's what Leroy gave me, so.
Right, so you're putting in 63 for the budget based on that 314, right?
Yeah, I was just given a cut and paste of the 251, 200. So, and we just finished it up. So I'm gonna have to go have some conversations with people.
Well, what did you say it actually says right now in the budget?
251, 200.
What I was not clear was, I mean, basically, we need to come up with 62.8, assuming that Granger is going to donate the containers. So if you included 251, my impression was that you also were assuming that we would get the grant.
Well, yeah, we're not doing this if we don't get the grant.
Right.
Project's off. I'm not,
So,
Frank's gonna laugh at me if I suggest we do this without the grant.
right.
I mean,
I guess, anyway, apologies for any miscommunication. But what we need to come up with is 62.8 plus any other overruns that we see. So depending on it, if you've got 251,000 of our money in it, sounds like we have some leeway.
right, that's what I
Oh,
said.
that's our total spend. You're not understanding how the budget works. That's,
Oh,
I asked you how much the total project was for and you said 251 too, but the total project is 314. So, I might be able to tweak it today. I mean, they're printing the final budgets downstairs, so gonna have to go have some conversations after this meeting. Okay. So now that it's 314 was the total budget that we were looking at when we applied. And you were proposing with all these various services, 82,100. So that leaves how much? About 232,000 for the actual construction costs. Do we think we can come in at about that range for construction?
I'm being safe, even if you took a 10% contingency, I think this project's like, yeah, it's close. It's like, it's probably 250. It's 240 to 250. I mean, if we're all just taking our best,
Okay,
at it right now.
I'm just trying to get at what do we really need to shave out of this 82,100? Like, what's our target goal? And obviously we don't know until we technically bid it, but
One
I
of the,
I don't have a lot of room. I already got to go downstairs and tell everybody that I gave them completely wrong numbers and then, so I'm just trying to plan here accordingly on the front end so that we don't end up way over budget. So if
I
it
guess
came
I
in,
misunderstand how you said that too, Dan. The 251 that you used, that's your money that you placing for your particular match on this project, or is that what you think the project total cost is regardless of?
I was told that was the total project cost, but now I see that that is not the total project cost. That's a separate issue. That's just,
how do we, yeah, we can talk more about this, but our budget, how do we, you're saying that we included the grant in the budget as well? So we're assuming a revenue of 251,000?
no, we're assuming that we spend, right now, the budget assumes that we spend 251,200 on this project in total. So that's fine. I can go downstairs and I can fix that. What I'm trying to understand is out of, what do we actually think? We've got the one bucket of soft costs that we're talking about with Spicer. Right now, that's at 82,100. The total project we think is 314. And so when you do that math, we would have to, when we bid this, the contractor would have to be able to build it for about 230,000. Is that reasonable?
One big cost was the potential area of savings is if Granger can use some of that dirt in the mound. That remains to be seen. I don't think we can bank on it, but there's once they have a better sense of what's in that mound, we might be able to shape some of the site improvements.
Yeah, I mean, I think our biggest cost is getting that dirt out of there. What are we doing with the dirt? I mean, next to the, paving, it's the largest cost in the project. So again, I need to go back and see what I was putting per cubic yard for that transport disposal, but I think there was somewhere around somewhere shy of just, maybe it was like 2,000 yards or something like that. I mean, it's a big chunk. It's a big chunk of dirt.
Well, Roy, can you search this PDF that you're on right now for yards and it'll probably find what our reference is to the cut that needs to be made?
I'll have to find that unit cost that I did in there because I mismade that a lump sum, Dan.
Yeah.
It won't show up in that PDF. It's going to be in my calculatory spreadsheet that made that number.
Is that the site grading for 55,000?
Right.
Okay. I'm just trying to see, I'm just looking to see like, what are we currently projecting for the construction cost relative to the grand total of 314,000, because that tells us where we need to, what number we need to bring your proposal down to and what services we will provide to make sure that we can come in under budget. And I know we won't know until we bid it exactly what we're looking at for construction. I'm just wondering if we have a ballpark.
Did you include the grant revenue? If so, how much grant revenue was included in the budget?
The budget reads 80% grant revenue of a total project cost of $251,200 because I was given 251,200 as the total cost.
Okay,
So I just did an 80-20 split on it for the budget.
so the revenue will actually be higher than that. It'll be,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, but it's still, I've got to go. The budget's being given to the board tomorrow, so it's either going to have to be a first quarter budget amendment or I'm going to have to go downstairs and fix it today. So that's the frustration.
Gotcha. What else do we want to talk more about this right now?
I think we just need to go through the Spicer proposal here in-house and talk about what we can do versus what we want to outsource to them, given our project list. And so I think we probably need to sit down with Giannis and Niall and go through some things and see what we want to do. And if John and Dennis could refine some of their numbers on this, and then we can hopefully leave as much as possible for construction.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'll be meeting with my principal in charge tomorrow to go over this. I do think, Dan, that essentially tasks 1 through 5 which are all the design tasks through bidding are, I feel like those aren't going to move very much. It's just the construction related tasks, the admin and project inspection. And I think it comes down, to me, it comes down to weeks. How many weeks are they in the field? And if they're 3 months versus 4 months, and we can save, a quarter of that cost, at least that's a quarter plus whatever else we the township and we Spicer Group figure out could be a savings, and there's that. So, but yes, by my own means, please review this. I realize it's a hard topic to discuss, especially when you're trying to get through your fiscal budgeting for the year and making sure that all the pieces fit. And we want to work with you guys too, obviously. So whatever we can do.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at bidding assistance. So scheduling and attending the pre-bid meeting, absolutely. We would certainly want you for that. Answering questions and issuing addendums as required. We would want some assistance with that. But I think we could put together the actual RFP. I mean, we do RFPs on a weekly and monthly basis, so we could probably do the actual RFP itself
Yeah.
initially. But
So when you say the RFP, the solicitation to the contractor for the bid,
yeah,
that's what you mean? Okay.
yeah, we
Yeah.
do pretty much all of them in-house. I mean, we don't, the only ones that we outsource are the milling and paving for the local road program. For the most part is outsourced to Manic, but we do pretty much all of our RFPs in-house. But we would definitely want you for the pre-bid meeting and answering questions, specific technical questions that the contractors might have. And maybe just outlining, I mean, we already have a standard RFP, so what we would really need are the major bid items broken out to stick into our RFP document. So I think we could look at that area.
You essentially need the contract book and the plans.
Yes, the
Not the front
plans,
end, maybe not the front ends even, because if you guys bid it yourselves.
but the plans are covered under preliminary and final design, right?
Right, I'm just wrapping my head around if we don't do our normal procedures, I guess similar to yours, except we do it ourselves. We have our own website. We put the contract manual out with the plans and all the documents that comprise the contract manual, whether that's specs,
Okay,
procurement, advertisement, all that other stuff. But if you do that on your end already, I think the only thing that we would really have to give you is we would have to provide you with just the specifications and the plans, because you guys already have front end documents, if I'm understanding right.
correct. Yep. Yeah, if
And
you
that
gave
would-
us the list of the major bid items and specifications, yeah, the technical specifications, we have general specs that we could include, but
That'd be all right with us. I mean, we've done that before too. That saves half of a contract book that we normally write for the front end portion that you would already have. So yeah, I like that idea.
so there's a few things that we can help with, but certainly items 1 through 4, we're gonna need. Those are gonna have to be included, and then a great deal of construction administration. I'll check on inspections and what we think we can do in-house in that regard.
Okay.
Okay, do we want to try to get together and maybe like 2 weeks from now after I can sit down with Giannis and Niall and go over a few things and then hopefully get the budget fixed?
If you don't mind me interrupting for a second, Dan, Leroy, do you have any sense of when Eagle wants to sit down at the table to review final documents and sign the agreement?
I got a feeling it could be any day, probably in the next week.
So we may want to actually reconvene next week if possible to finalize this up, like the sooner the better, because we have no idea when the clock's going to run out before they want to sit down, right? I mean, Leroy, the one other thing that we talked about the other day, and Dan, you were occupied, but we brought this up when we had a brief conversation, is, it appears that Eagle is going to award monies from their grant to the township to perform this project. What I don't know, what I'm wondering, and I don't know, Leroy, if you can find out more information, is if we're finagling these things and costs have increased, are they already set on that number, that 314? Or are they willing to increase anything, or can't they, because they've already budgeted out all these other jobs for this particular grant and they've used all their funding? That's what I'm wondering, because if there's any wiggle that we can achieve more dollars, maybe not unrealistically like a ridiculous amount of money, but maybe there's some room that they're willing to negotiate with on this.
Yeah, well, I can call Jeff about the timing, number one, because I haven't had an update from him in a couple of weeks, week and a half. I can also ask that, but when I spoke with him about a week and a half ago, it was more the wiggle room between line items, not so much about expansion. Not that expansion is not possible, but expansion would be more likely if we're well underway with the project and we definitely need X amount to finish the project. So that might be another angle, is to go with our original projections. And then as we get into the project, ask for an amendment later, if they can't do one now. So
what's the wiggle room on the line items mean right now?
we can change anything we want to at this point. But as long as we stay within the original budget.
Oh, well, then they wouldn't necessarily be looking at more dollars.
That's what the impression was that I got from him.
Okay.
But he also told me I asked him about other amendments, if we needed to expand, and there's several criteria that would enable that amendment. One is that the big one is that the project is well underway. There are other criteria too that you have to meet.
Maybe just worth the conversation of either between actual construction or engineering related fees, if there's a possibility. Just maybe we're just need to be blunt.
And where are they, and asking them what actually guides this decision, the decision?
Right.
Is it statutory? Is it a rule that was promulgated? Like what? So that we could actually look for ourselves and verify before we jump here and commit ourselves financially.
Because it seems like to me, like Leroy, when we were talking, that the best time to do that is now, before you sign your agreement, because it just becomes more challenging through the course of the project to get amendments. And so if we can circumvent some of that up front, that would probably be in our best, that would be the best outcome that we could get, I think.
Yeah. Well, I'll definitely check with him, and if anyone would like to be part of that call, you're welcome to.
I would.
Yeah.
So John, anyone else?
Dennis,
Yeah.
John and Dennis.
Okay, let me see if that makes sense for them, and I'll invite you to a call. And in the meantime, I can find out before we schedule our next meeting how soon the timeline is, unless you want to go ahead and shoot for something like on the 8th or 1st.
I would.
For our next, for our meeting.
I mean, the quicker we have that, I think the quicker we can get that Eagle meeting, the better understanding Dan would have if he has to amend the budget potentially. So if that can be sooner than later next week, then maybe that offers up some help for Dan when he goes to talk turkey with the numbers people.
He's gonna have to do that.
Yeah, I gotta do that regardless, but it would help to know sooner rather than later if the grant itself is flexible or if we're locked in at like maximum of 314,000 for the match.
Yep. Mhm.
Because I mean, our road bids this summer were insane. I mean, they were absolutely insane. So I'm just
Well,
nervous.
and my thought too was that moving,
Just talk. You're here.
okay. My thought too was, in the big picture, if we have that discussion with Eagle, I mean, you're talking that you've already got experience with those rising costs. And that's what we're seeing across the board with our construction projects, that they may have more wiggle room to give us more dollars in the long run, but that's a question we can ask them.
How high, if you don't mind me asking, what have you guys been seeing for your road bids coming in? How much higher than say 2 years ago? 50%, 40%?
45 to 55%, but we just did our crush and shape this summer because the engineering was behind based on when we got them the roads. And so we did a crush and shape in July and it was 4 times what we would have expected it to be.
Yep, I'm seeing those costs from
It was
Comparable.
1.6 million for 1 mile of road.
It's absurd. I just heard the same conversation from some communities up in the northern Michigan side.
So I think John's exactly right. We need a meeting and I'd be happy to jump on. Tomorrow I'm free other than 8:30 to 9 and 2 to 3. Monday I'm free other than 10 to 11. So I'm pretty much free the vast majority of the next 2 work days. So I don't even need to be there. If the 3 of you could just meet with Eagle and find out if there's any ability to increase their grant match, based on actual bids that come in or.
If Leroy, if by some miracle chance, the Eagle guy can meet tomorrow, I can do it. It would have to be later in the afternoon though. Unfortunately, I got like everybody else on this call, I got back-to-back meetings from like 8 till like 1:30. So
Yeah, tomorrow late afternoon doesn't work for me. But
well,
I might be able to get a hold of him today.
yeah.
Yet.
If you get on today, I'll jump on. I'm here till 6.
Okay, let me give him a call. The other thing that we need to talk about is the relationship with Granger.
Yes.
They're not just giving us $150,000 of dumpsters for free. So we need to kind of look at what they proposed. And there's an agreement that our attorneys need to look at and just we'll have some opportunity to negotiate. But that's just basically, they've given us letters. You've seen the letters in the proposal. There's no cost for what they're offering. But let me share these with you all and take a look at them.
So what are they asking for?
The basic gist of it is we have to do the site improvements, which is what the grant offers. And then they're asking for that we maintain the free market of recycling so that we're not going out to sole source recycling in our township. Let me see if I can pull that up. No, it's not here. See if I can figure out where it is.
While you're looking for that, did you, from Tuesday to today, were you able to talk to whoever the new Charles Hauser or whatever, whoever the new Granger guy is?
Yeah, Taylor Bass.
Seabass, okay.
Yep, she and Charles came out yesterday. And Let's see here. Yeah, we chatted and they're interested in working together. That's where the idea about the dirt came up in that conversation. So basically, this agreement is that the agreement shall terminate immediately and without notice in the event that the provision of residential solid waste collection or transportation services within the township is not fully open to private industry competition without government consent.
This is a draft.
Yep,
When did they present this to us?
this was a letter to Frank last year.
And we signed this letter?
No, there's no signed agreement.
Did Frank see this last year or?
Yeah, I assume he did. This was the actual email that Keith Granger sent.
An email correspondence, Dan, when we were putting things together for this application that went in April, there was correspondence, I think, Leroy, and they loosey-goosey said, they said a few things in those email correspondence. So it was like, this is this, and, we think this is about $100,000 monetary cost, and
Yeah, there's a letter from Charles.
yeah.
So, yep. So I'll send these documents along, take a look at, we may want our, nothing signed with Granger yet, but I think there's been at least in my understanding, the assumption that this is a pretty good proposal, which we can terminate if we choose to. It's just there's ramifications if we do.
What are the penalties for terminating?
I'll send that along because, it's in the documents.
Okay, yeah, send me that PDF. I need to take a look at that. So basically they're saying if we went to a single hauler if we did go with a single hauler, it would probably be Granger anyway, because they have the vast majority of services, but they're stating if we go to a single hauler, they would, and it wasn't Granger, they would just pull out of our recycling center.
That's probably fairly accurate paraphrasing, but let me send it to you so you can see it in writing.
Okay. Yeah, these things need to be flagged a little bit earlier in the process. Okay.
Leroy, can you comment as to the recent ask about what Granger thought they might be able to do with that dirt? Just so I understand a little better.
It's a landfill cover. So it's something that they typically need as they add layers of landfill.
So would they, let's play that out just for a second. So if the contractor is on site and he's doing the mass grading, he has this 2,000 yards or whatever the amount of the material is, he would generally likely have to take it to Granger to begin with. So is there some credit or I don't understand, is there some cost savings here for Granger to take the dirt when it's likely going there already?
That's what we need to find out. They said that they might have a home for some fill dirt. That was our question, is where's it going to go? And if they can use it as something to cap their landfill gradually as they add layers, that might be a cost savings. What it is, I don't know.
Yeah, it would have to be pretty defined because the contractor has no interest in that arrangement. He's just taking dirt from point A to point B, and he's going to charge us whatever it is to begin with.
Yeah, and we don't know what's in that pile. Isn't that correct, Rob? So there's going to be some testing, or at least we may not know until as we go. Maybe some of the loads are usable. So anyhow, let me give Jeff a call, see if he's still around, and see what his possibility is. And if we can bring each other in on that call, I'll invite you guys.
Full disclosure, testing that material is not in our services right now. So if you have to have Tri-Terra or some other applicable
environmental company test the constituents in that material. I currently don't have that captured.
Sounds good. Okay, so anything else we want to cover before moving along here?
I think I'm good, Leroy. I mean, as soon as you get a Eagle conversation going, I'll be part of it, assuming I can be. And I think that'll help. And then I think we'll work through the costing a little more, some of those things that we all discussed, and see if there's a little more, savings that we can get out of refining our agreement with the township. And then, yeah,
Sounds
I think that Eagle cost kind of is important. The more I think about it.
Sounds good. All right, talk to you guys in a bit.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, bye.